All right. Recording in progress here, live, on location from Puro Cigar Bar, Chandler, downtown. Thurston and Smith, America's #1 Alpha German lifestyle coach, along here with Dynamic Duo.
I am Jamel Z Hit, creator of hashtag DBWT, Don't Be Wasting Talent, also the vice president of Smoker City International.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we came here today for Tobacco Talk Tuesday. Tobacco Talk Tuesday. One thing I always forget to do, I always look at the screen, not the camera. So
Yeah,
imagine if I do that.
look at
So I need to
looked at the camera.
I need to look at the camera, not the screen. But we have a nice conversation here tonight for Tobacco Talk. We're live, we're outside, it's not a background. We're actually outside. And Puro.
We out here.
So tonight we're going to be discussing a couple of things here. We have our books of the month. Another book that we actually dropped inside of the group was the Why Do White Men Get to Have All the Fun by Reginald F. Lewis. That was the group book reading for this month, but we had some other readings that we actually did ourselves. So I'm just going to jump in here. Let me get everything set up. Bear me one moment. Hope everyone's having a good time, a good day. And if you'd like to jump on and say anything, feel free to send me a message, send me a DM. We can go ahead and send you the link to jump on tonight's Tobacco Talk.
For sure.
Tobacco Talk. Okay, the audio is working. So I'm going to close out of Facebook. Hopefully that doesn't mess anything up here. Let's see. All right. All right, today I have I don't know if you're able to see that. This is the Rose of Sharon by Southern Draw Lancero, like a flute. So we had a book of the month, Reginald F. Lewis, Why Do White Men Have All the Fun? It was a great read. You want to start first? What would you get from the book?
Oh man, from that book, you know, it was the reason why it really was more inspiring and educational than some of the other books that we've read, you know, about, you know, that autobiographies about, you know, successful men that have worked with finances. Very much of his background, and the things that he overcame, the obstacles that he had, and, you know, his drive and his determination. You know, and that's one of the things that we definitely look at successful men and how they've amassed their amounts of wealth and how they have overcame, you know, so many obstacles is the fact that they were driven. Reginald F. Lewis, he was driven in a whole different way, right? Just from the beginning. And a lot of his roots was rooted in humility. Everything that he did was, you know, out of the act of being humble. You know, if that makes sense. Because everything he did it for someone else. You know, he understood what servant leadership was before servant leadership was actually a thing, before it was actually a title or a book, which that's also another great book, servant leadership. The things that he did, not just as a man, but he did it against all odds because of the time that he did it, during the 60s and the 70s, right? when you had a lot of things that were going on, from you coming out of Jim Crow, but you still got some segregation issues. It's coming from Baltimore, where a lot of Baltimore and many other areas. Yes, we are. Thank you very much. A lot of those areas in certain areas of Baltimore where he grew up at. We're still dealing with segregation. We're still dealing with white supremacy and things like that, right? You couldn't go certain areas. You couldn't do certain things. You couldn't have certain things, you know what I'm saying, if you were a person of color. So, his story, it's like many others, but still it's different because of the way that he carried himself and how he looked at every situation as an opportunity, right? Everybody does their like, damn, I gotta go do this shit again. I gotta go do that. He rarely did that. Everything that he looked at was, that's an opportunity. Oh, you said no, that's an opportunity. Oh, you're gonna cheat me out of this. Okay, well, that's an opportunity, And so what I mean, in sharing that piece of information, what I'm getting to is the fact that he didn't allow the stereotypes, the stigmas. He didn't allow the racism. He didn't allow the fact that he was the first Black man of certain, degree to do certain things. You got to admit, out of everything that he overcame, this man has a building named after him on a law campus. I believe it's Harvard.
Yeah.
Harvard Law, right? Harvard Law School. On their campus, they have a building named after Reginald F. Lewis. Come on now. We talk about, we want to do this and we want to be successful. He was one of the many men that showed you could be successful and do anything in your life without being an athlete, where you are pretty much the way you're going to amass your success is stepping, fetching, running, jumping, and catching, right? He got off of that plantation. He got off of that plantation and showed you how he could do it in another way. From purchasing a building in prime real estate on Wall Street and conducting business, going toe to toe with other millionaires, right? Business acquisition was his whole game. Right. After law school, So it's a whole lot more, that you could really discuss and talk about with Reginald F. Lewis, in this book. Even his world of travels, because that's how he married his wife. Going to the Philippines and seeing, how closely resembled their culture closely resembled a lot of the culture that he suffered, because he went and found the dark-skinned Filipinos. He went and found, the people that like Dr. Rodolfo Rashidi wrote in some of his books and talked about in his lessons, rest his soul, the Negritos, right? And these were the ones that really looked like they were African. They looked like they were from, somewhere in South Africa, West Africa, even the Congo, but these were Asian, right? So, and that's another book that I advise y'all to get into that one by Dr. Rodolfo Rashidi, the African Star over Asia. It gets heavy into that. But Reginald F. Lewis, man, he was ahead of his time. Right. He was definitely ahead of his time. And like I said, the main thing that really made it inspirational for me and made me want to dig in deeper and get the education about what he was doing, what he did, was the fact that he was a servant leader. Everything he did it for someone else first, and he had a philosophy that, if I want what I want, if I want to have, my success, if I want to have, the things that I need, even the material, the physical, the spiritual, all of the success in every arena of his life, I need to make sure that the people that I care about and the people that I love, they have what they need. He was all about necessity, only necessities and results. Those were two things that I could say he was really adamant about: necessities and results. None of this, half in between. None of this. Well, maybe, I'll do, or I'm gonna be selfish for a little. No. The only thing that you might say about him being selfish was once he earned something or accomplished something, he was serious about, well, I need more. If I can make 1,000, I should be able to make 10. If I can make 10,000, I should be able to make 1,000,000. Well, damn, if I was able to make 1,000,000, I ought to be able to make 1,000,000,000, which eventually he did.
Right.
You know, he did. He was, a matter of fact, when Jesse Jackson was running for president and was getting deeper into politics, you know, he was one of his main supporters, financial supporters. We're talking about millions of dollars, not a couple of, let me get you, I got a couple of dollars in the bank, let me slide you this 20. I hope that helps you out on the, come on, man. Nah, this cat was dropping millions. He dropped millions, and was a football player. Was an athlete, right? Was a team leader in the locker room as well as on the field in Virginia.
Right.
You know, played at a small school in Virginia, but he was a leader. You know, played a few different positions, but man, was slinging the ball as a quarterback, as a QB.
Quarterback, yep.
You know, so and you know, that's kind of a stereotype in itself that QBs, automatic leaders, QBs are these special types. There's a stereotype, there's a prototype of a QB. Well, if you really want to believe that, and you really want to buy into that, guess what? Yeah, he fit that. He fit that. And he did that. You know, I mean, great man. You know, so
Definitely was a great man.
yeah. Let me open up Facebook because I'm pretty sure maybe somebody might have some comments or something. That would be great to hear some comments or to read off some comments and interact with you guys because we know you read the book, you know, because we put the book out there just like we do with all the books every month. We put the book out there for you to read it and to understand, get something from it, not just, you know, to say you're a part of a book club. Because honestly, and I'm gonna say this, you getting books that many of y'all don't have to pay for. And it's so much game in these books, right? There's so much game in these books that there should be no excuses. And honestly, can I brag a little bit?
Go ahead.
Can I brag a little bit? All right, I'm gonna brag a little bit.
I'm
gonna brag a little bit from the standpoint of #DBWT. Don't be wasting talent. My business partner and great friend, put a challenge to me. Right? Put a challenge to me because we were talking about all the stuff we want to do with our lives. We were, you know, talking about all the things that we did do. We were talking about all the things that we want to start doing for other people. You know what I'm saying? And I've mentioned another book because we were trying to figure out, well, which book do we want to go with. We had A.G. Gaston, The Black Titan. Y'all better read that one. We had The Wealth Choice by Dr. Dennis Kimbrough. You better get up on it. Better get up. If you like Dr. Boyce Watkins, you'll definitely love Dr. Dennis Kimbrough because he came before Boyce Watkins. He's the OG in the financial game, especially, you know, for people of color and African Americans, whatever you want to claim, whatever you want to classify yourself as, right? So we were trying to discuss, and I was like, man, why not just let's just give 2 books, you know, because it was during February. It was, you know, during what we call, you know, Black History Month. So you know,
or Heritage Month,
our Heritage Month, right? So I said, well, why not, you know, let's give them a choice, you know what I'm saying? And then he said, well, what's stopping you from getting through all 3? Now, we didn't put this out, you know, in the group. We didn't put this challenge, but he gave me the challenge, you know, because I was talking big shit. You know, I was talking like, yeah, I'm a learner, I'm a reader, so he called me out on it. Guess what? Yeah, I accomplished it. I met the challenge. I completed 3 books: A.G. Gaston, The Black Titan, The Wealth Choice by Dr. Dennis Kimbrough, and Watching White Guys Have All the Fun by Reginald F. Lewis. Yeah.
Boom. That
part. So there's really no excuse. #DBWT. Don't be wasting talent. If it's something that you're serious about, go ahead and do it. If it's something that you think about, go ahead and try it. If it's something that you dream about, go ahead and chase it. You know, what's stopping you? Because when he asked me that question, the only thing I said was distractions.
That's honest what it is.
That was all. That's all it was. It was distractions. That was the only thing that would have prevented me from getting through 3 books in 1 month. Right. And here's the other key. And this is one of the major keys to success that Reginald F. Lewis also displayed. He expected to win. He expected to win. He woke up and expected today's gonna be a wonderful day.
Right.
He expected that, you know what? I'm gonna be blessed. God's gonna bless me today. I'm expecting.
I think the mindset that he had, and the one thing that stood out to me, I mean, it's a great book, and that's something that I shared with a couple of people just about, you know, y'all already know about this person. You always know when we talk about Black History Month, you know, we go through saying Martin Luther King, MLK, same people along those lines, Frederick Douglass. But you know, when you talk about, you know, successful businessmen amongst the Black community, and the fact that he was actually a billionaire during this time where they talk about, you know, slavery, Jim Crow, all those stuff that you hear, and the oppression of Black people. But how was it that this man was able to rise over all those obstacles and become a billionaire with all the stuff going on, you know? And one thing he talked about is just that you just have to just do the work.
Do the work.
And if I could take one thing from the book, is what he spoke about is you just have to do the work. The fact that he had to Harvard, you know, on a summer internship, and then after that he got the okay from his school he was at to go be at Harvard. Nothing really didn't stop him. And then he graduated, and then they have a statue there at Harvard. When you think of Harvard, you're not really thinking about African Americans. Right, so the fact that he went to the school, and then
he has a
statue there.
Forgive me for the interruption, but I got an interruption. How did he get to Harvard? How did he even get into the school?
Oh, it was I think an externship or something like that.
He was going for the internship, but it didn't work out. Yeah. So he was kicking it with the chick whose father was a part of the whole. He runs the board of admissions. Mm-hmm. He talked his way into Harvard.
Yes,
he talked his way into Harvard
because they needed 5, and they already had the 5. And they made an exception for him to go to the Harvard for that internship. Then he switched it, and he said, "I'm about to do study law."
So, I apologize for the interruption, but I had to interrupt right there because y'all needed to know that. Y'all needed to know that.
I think it's a very good, you know, point that you just pointed out. Oh, okay. You know, so when I think to myself about, you know, me being an African American man and me wanting to be successful. And anyone want to be successful, I want to just put it on myself. You know, what's really stopping us from being successful? If we now have a representation of someone that has became a billionaire. It wasn't long time ago. It was like, you know, in the 80s.
Yeah,
80s, early 90s.
Because he died. Matter of fact, because he and Arthur Ashe were very, very close friends, and Arthur Ashe died shortly after he did. So in the 80s.
Died in the 80s. So the fact that he, you know, acquired all these businesses through all these countries, conducted business, and was able to rise over the obstacles, that was something very impressive to me. I was just impressed, like, man, I really have no excuse. And going into the next book, the wealth choice, that really hammered the nail in the coffin that you really don't have no excuse why you shouldn't be successful, or why you shouldn't get anything that you really want out of life. You know, there really is no excuse when you actually do the work, proper planning, and follow these certain steps, and follow the keys to success, because they're pretty much outlined through all the successful people that we actually look up to. They had a dream, they had a vision. People told them no. They kept working at it. They changed the places they were going, the people they were around. They started just chipping away, and finally they got their one big break, and they never looked back. Now, the wealth choice talked about every successful Black person to ever come, from Kirk Franklin, Tyler Perry, LeBron James, Tyrese. I mean, all the tycoons in music, Puff Daddy, all the entertainers, boxers. They really touched on every person that we looked as a successful role model and broke down their story. And all the stories were pretty much the same. And so after reading these books, I really have to look myself in the mirror and really think about what I really want and what's really holding me back. You know, people talk about the man or this holding me back, but
see.
I don't see no man.
I see.
I don't see no man. And then who is the man? What does he look like?
What does he look like?
And if you know the man, or what does he look like, let us know. We'll go with you to go ahead and stop these problems that are happening to you. But I just think that we kind of have to just playing the victim. Because none of these people play the victim. They own up to the mistakes. They started behind the 8 ball, and they rose up and took care of business.
Let me hit the rewind button. Say that again, please. They didn't what? They didn't play the victim.
They ain't play the victim.
They didn't play
the victim. And so that was just something that I took away. Is like, man, I really have to just look at myself and look at and think about all the excuses that I've been telling myself about why I'm not successful or why I'm not doing those things, because there's a blueprint. And when my mentor says, success leaves clues.
I mean, you go to the Hansel and Gretel story. I mean, you know, they in order for them to get away, they left the trail. They left some crumbs. They left some, you know what I'm saying? You go to the Labyrinth story, you know, with the Minotaur, and the cat took a ball of twine, you know, and tied it to something. And then as he went through the, you know what I'm saying, he was able to find his way out. So,
right.
And he was successful in that. So if success leaves clues, the first thing that you got to do is you got to use some critical thinking to figure out, you know, kind of like a reverse engineering system.
Right.
Okay, if I know that I have to get out of this maze and this is the exit, or if I know I have to get to this side of the pool, or I know I got to get to the end of the track, or I know I can. So now let me reverse engineer. Let me start from the end and look at every process. You know, it's just like in football coaching. A lot of coaches are looking to reverse engineer their season, right? So they're looking at their schedule. Well, we know we want to get to the championship. We know we want to get to the playoffs. We know we want to get to the sections. We want to win the regions. We want to get. Okay, so what do we have to do? Okay, by this time, this is when we need to be at this speed. This is when we need to be functioning on these calories. This is when, you know, all cylinders need to be firing. This is when we need to have guys healthy. Okay, so now, how do we get to that point? Who's our toughest competition at the regionals or the sectionals, right? Okay, so what did they do? So now you study, right? So part of the clues that you use in order to be successful is study. You have to study. You have to study. What are the clues, the people that were successful before you in the things that you're trying to do, right? If you're trying to be a shoe salesman, you're going to study the cats that sold the most shoes. How did they do it? What were their methods? What were their tactics, right? And you're going to reverse engineer. Let me start with the end and work my way to the beginning. And then let me plan my work and work my plan so I can't fail. It's that part. Because
right.
And it's really that simple. Yes, easier said than done. Easier said than done, which goes into the third book. A.G. Gadsden, right? The Black Title, okay? Another one that accomplished so much with so little.
Very little.
Very little. This man was born in the 1800s, right? So the time that he was born, right? Because Reginald Lewis, he was born in 1942, right? When A.G. Gadsden was born, he was born in 1800s. He was alive during the Great Depression in the 1920s. He was alive, you know, during the First World War. He was alive, you know, during a lot of things that were serious historical transitions in American history and also in world history, okay? Lived in a miners community, coal mine, right? And also iron ore, right? Lived in these communities, survived a lot of disease and sickness, okay? So his beginnings are just like anybody else that's really struggling and trying to come up, right? You coming from nothing. You coming from nothing. When you talk about getting it out the mud, we're gonna grind. Yeah, A.G. Gadsden was that one, okay? Not just that, but when he finally got to a point in his life, right, where because he was all about work, He was all about work. He believed that, you know, hey, if I'm going to do anything, if I'm going to make anything of myself or have anything, I got to work, right? He was serious about work. But when he worked for a purpose. He didn't just go to work just to collect a check. Because during the times when he was working, they were getting, what, a couple of dollars? If that. If that, right? So he worked with a purpose and a plan, and he pushed himself to the position of ownership. He wanted management, right? And then he went into ownership. Now, we're talking to A.G. Gaston, the Black Titan, right? This is a man that came from nothing, had no resources, had no generational wealth, had no rich parents, had no ancestors to betroth him anything, had no hand-me-downs, had no trust funds, had none of that. But yet he was able to go toe-to-toe with Carnegie. Carnegie was a steel giant,
right,
before he teamed up with Chase and Roebuck and Macy, and you know what I'm saying, all those guys at that time. You know what I'm saying? Carnegie was a steel giant. This one brother who came from nothing was able to go toe-to-toe with a man that was given a silver spoon. Ain't no excuses. Ain't no excuses. Look, and I'm not going to minimize or downplay anything, but when we talk about we're being oppressed, when we talk about, you know, systemic this, systemic that, you know what I'm saying? When we talk about white supremacy, when we talk about racism and everything, when we talk about all of that, you still have to, yeah, I acknowledge it, but I still got to ask myself the question, how is that so dominant when I have examples that people wrote about? People wrote about H. Gaston. People wrote about Reginald F. Lewis. People wrote about Dr. Dennis Kimbrough. People wrote about Dr. Claude Anderson. People wrote about all of these guys that have become millionaires and billionaires for using their minds. They use their minds. They use their intuition. They use their curiosity as a weapon. They weaponize their curiosity. They weaponize their ingenuity. So what are the excuses? Yeah, we talk, yeah, the man holding me back. The man, so I ask again, if you know what the man looked like, if you know what's holding you back, could it possibly be you? Man, I'm asking y'all seriously, could it possibly be you that's holding you back? Because everything that these men accomplished, it was their mindset, it was their driven ability. You know what I'm saying? And I know we talk about oppression and everything. We talk about, you know, violence in the community, right? So let me hit you with some notes, right? Let me hit you with some notes real quick.
Hit them with it.
Let me hit you with some notes, right? When we talk about, you know, our communities and everything, we talk about the violence, we talk about this, you know, what are the contributors to the detriment of a community? A lot of people are going to say first is the poor schools, the education, right? So from the books we read, these men saw education as a way to get ahead, but it wasn't just any education. It wasn't going in and reading Jane Austen and all of that, even though that I know that's what y'all got to do, because I had to do it when I was going through school.
Right.
But that's not education. Education wasn't about trying to solve the Pythagorean theory. That ain't what we're talking about. The education that we're truly talking about, that these men took advantage of, they took advantage of the education and being educated in a skill,
right,
a skill set. And then when they learned these skill sets, they applied these skill sets and they looked to learn more. A.G. Gaston owned a funeral home. He was one of the first one, right? He not only owned a funeral home, and he was one of the first men to talk about multiple streams of income, right? Everybody out there, I gotta have a hustle. I need to have multiple streams of income. Dr. Boyce Watkins told you about that, right? Hey, you really can't make it on your salary alone. You really can't make it on a 2-parent income. You gotta have some extra stuff going on. You need multiple streams of income. Man, Brother Nipsey Hussle, rest his soul, right? He even talked about multiple streams of income, and the thing is a marathon, right?
Right.
So when we look at A.G. Gasson on the funeral home, he also was in management, and he had his hand on the resources in the miners community. He was supplying food to them. He was supplying tools because the government wasn't giving the black miners the resources that they needed in order to be successful. They made sure that the white miners and the white mining communities had everything that they needed, right? The best of the best. And they even provided them with a little, with a little security from the military if necessary, right? Mm-hmm. The black miners didn't have none of that. So what is the detriment? We talk about poor schools. Well, then maybe it's what we're learning. Maybe it's what we're saying is education. Granted, yeah, we need to know how to read. That's number one. Yeah, we need to know how to count. But what are we counting? I'm not talking down on algebra and stuff like that, but I'm just saying these cats learn the math of what fifth grade math, how to move the zeros. Dr. Byron Golden, that's his thing, how to move the zeros, right? Then you look at
I noticed too that amongst the black community, they always talk politics, and now we're not in politics and out in the office. But reading these books here, they were actually meeting with the government, sitting down with the president, sitting down with high authority figures in the government, and going over actually plans to make things better. So I'm just confused where us as a black community, we don't actually talk about those things. We're not scheduling meetings with our mayors or our city council, which is what these brothers did. And I was just amazing point just a second, not to cut you off, but
yeah,
wow.
That was good. Like, you brought up a real good point.
Like we talked about it, the president, oh man, I ain't talking about that. I don't even vote. But these people were part of the voting system, and going down and talking to these people about different things that they're seeing in their communities and that things that they need to change. So all this stuff was just a massive brain rewire for myself about the things that I've reading and the things I've been told as a young man growing up.
When A.G. Gaston was supporting Martin Luther King, he wasn't with all that protesting. He was against it at first, until he saw something in it. Just like Reginald F. Lewis saw many things as an opportunity. A.G. Gaston saw an opportunity in the protests. He didn't see, the results, that would come from it, which that's still another topic because, and it's very sensitive, but he saw the opportunity to create jobs. He saw an opportunity to move money within the community. He saw also opportunities of him to be a philanthropist and put his money into certain things that needed to happen that helped Dr. Martin Luther King and many of the civil rights activists that were involved in, in different things. So, he spoke against it, right? He spoke against it, but because of his demeanor and because of his ability to communicate, right, and his ability to put his words together and actually convince people of certain things. He was a great negotiator, right? Didn't go to school for it, but he just understood how people operate, and he understood that I need to show how we can get results. If we're going to do this, then everybody's got to buy in. Everybody got to see. So he funded some things. He helped, you know what I'm saying? But he was definitely against it. And he was old. This man was old.
Very,
very old, but still was sharp as a tack, right? And he didn't take another thing that comes up when we talk about the detriment of the community. We say lack of opportunities, right? Lack of job opportunities. He didn't let that stop him. He saw that there was a lack and he felt the need. He was serious about that. Okay, so we need this over here. We don't have that over here. Okay, brother, what can you do? Okay, you can swing that hammer. Okay, well, this is what we're gonna do. This is how we're gonna do it. And this is okay, we're gonna get, maybe a nickel, from the white community over here, you know what I'm saying? But if we get that nickel and then put it over here with this brother over here, he got his nickel. Now we're gonna get A.G. Gaston was one of the first serial entrepreneurs and was one of the first brothers that was serious about group economics. He was one of the first ones, right? So now you come to another question of economic fallout due to the possibilities that certain things can go wrong, right? So if there is an economic fallout, if there is, going to be something that is going to thin out our dollars, it's going to thin out, our resources or whatever. If you see it coming, you know what I'm saying? It's just like if somebody getting ready to punch you, you see the punch coming, what you gonna do? You gonna sit there and just let it hit you in the face? Or you already going, oh, I need to go ahead and duck and then have a counter and this, right? If you see something coming at you, you're gonna move out the way. So paying attention to what's going on in your life, paying attention to what's going on in your community, paying attention to what's going on in your family, paying attention to what's going on in yourself.
Right.
You see some bullshit coming. Why wait for it to start stinking for you to have to take action and do something about it? We know that there was economic fallout coming. A.G. Gaston predicted certain things. So what did he do? He took action. He prepared for it. Because why? Everybody else was so emotional and strung up on their egos, and they were all caught up in the moment. Oh, the white man, this, the white man, that. He realized the power of the dollar and what needed to happen. He used it as a weapon and a tool. We're talking about one of the first billionaires,
Right.
Black billionaires.
So what's something, I know we were talking about 3 books, we kind of went in, saying, all gas, no breaks. So what is something here from these 3 books that we have, that we read throughout the month, Black History Month, Heritage Month, and Black History Month is every single month. So that we can take away and share with our viewers, our listeners, whoever's seen this live or listening to this podcast.
You talk about the solutions.
No, just something that you took away.
Oh, my takeaways. You either got excuses or you got results. That was one of the takeaways.
Right.
Another takeaway were the basics. The basics that we've been going over, our whole lives with your parents. Hey, you need to be on time. Hey, you need to get up. Saying, yeah, it's a weird saying, the early bird gets the worm, but if you're operating and if what you need to do or what you want to do, your dreams are a part of the world that operates from a 9 to 5, then you need to be getting up at 7. You need to be getting up at 6. Right? If you're operating and what you want to do is a graveyard type of life, you know what I'm saying? The nightlife or entertainment, or you're a part of this crowd or these groups or your industry operates, then you need to be getting up at the time in order for you to function at that. You need to study these things, right? Study. That was the other thing that I took away. Okay. Because that's what A.G. Gaston did. He studied people's problems. And one of the things that many successful business people and many books that we've written prior to this, one of the things that they always talked about, if you could solve a problem. If you could solve a problem, right? The wealth choice, time management. If your moms told you, your pops told you, your grandmama told you, everybody, your pastor, your imam, your rabbi told you, time management, right? And you were put on time management, right? Because if you were raised in, in Islamic, atmosphere, you know what I'm saying? As I live, you 5 times a day, you're on time management. You got to get your prayers in, right? You got to get here. If you were on time management, you had to get to the church for YPWW on Wednesday. You had to get to Bible study on certain time. That Sunday school started at something. So you had the time management for the things that a lot of us rejected and rebelled against, but there were lessons in those things that were putting us on the right path of time management. Structure your life. Dr. Dennis Kimbrough, that was his biggest thing. That was his main thing. Structure your day. structure your month. Know exactly what you're gonna do, and then have some type of wiggle room to where if things do go wrong. Reginald Lewis, that was his thing. I know that something could go wrong, so I might as well start working on my solutions and my problems. He was proactive. Too many of us are not as successful as we need to be and should be in our lives because we're reactive. We react to, damn, we ran out of milk. I gotta get to the stuff. But you knew you was gonna run out of milk.
Right.
So halfway, you saw the gallon was half full or half empty, however you want to look at it.
Right.
Why don't you start preparing that? Maybe I need to go to the store. Why don't you purchase, hey, you know what? I'm gonna purchase 2 or 3. And that way, when this one goes empty and I open the second one, I can go to the store and already have the third one as a backup just in case, because I know we go through.
That's a good point, because if you know, then why you not? If you're prepared, you're gonna be unprepared. No, it's like, oh, okay, I'm getting down to my last jug. When I get down to my last jug, it's time to go ahead and start, making steps to go ahead and get that replaced.
That's what these men did. They knew that something was coming. They knew that, hey, even in friendships, I know we didn't have disagreements. We didn't have, you know what I'm saying, but we know we're gonna have them, and we know that the question is gonna be asked. Well, can you prove it? Do you have evidence?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what makes you think that?
Right.
Well, what brought that thought on? Well, what is that based out of? Well, what are the facts to that? Or is that just an opinion? You know what I'm saying? So you know that even in a friendship, even in your relationships, marriages, or just dating and whatnot, you know something is coming. So we love that, man. I stay ready, so I ain't gotta get ready. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Come on, man.
So what does that look like?
What does that look like? What does
Stay
that
ready,
look
have to
like?
get ready. What's that look like?
What does that look like?
So,
seriously, man. We can go in.
Right right back.
Yeah.
Hold it down.
All right. So let me hit a few other things. While my business brother is gone. Just to other things that we definitely know that are detriment to our community is the violence, right? And a lot of people talk about, all the black on black violence and that. Violence is violence, right? Violence is violence. Wrong is wrong, no matter who did it or who said it, right? Truth is truth, no matter who speaks it, right? Truth is truth. Wrong is wrong. Violence is violence, right? But there definitely is, right, some things that we, if we look at our communities, right, they're no different than anybody else's communities. They're no different than anybody else's communities. Our problems are no different than anybody else's, right? But when you look at, going back to what I was saying about economic fallout, right, due to the possibilities, right? When you have lack of skills and lack of talents, right, that exposes you to an inability to pivot. And what I mean by that is an inability to pivot is that when you don't have a plan of contingency, you don't have a backup, right? You don't have any other things that you can do. You don't have any other skill sets. You don't know enough or know how to do enough. You know what I'm saying? Things. My grandfather, rest his soul. One of the things that he said to me, I was a little kid. But he told me the more I can do with my hands, and as long as I have skills I can do with my hands, I'll never be hungry, right? As I grew older and loved doing construction and loved building things, my curiosity, things like, I started to understand what it meant. Because when you look at everything that a lot of people do with their hands, it's a lot of the jobs. That's a helicopter. Look at somebody's car alarm is going off. But the more I was able to learn how to do things, right? carpentry, right? Masonry, plumbing, electrical, right? These are, yeah, a lot of people don't want to do these types of jobs, right? Being a mechanic, being able to fix something, being able to build something, being able to put things together, right? A lot of people don't want to do that, right? A pivot, when we pivot to something that doesn't produce any results in an economic situation where it's economic fallout, when you don't have enough skills or talents and you need to pivot, right? Everybody can't make plates. And just because your kids like your cooking don't mean you need to be selling plates. I'm for real. For real. You know what I'm saying? And when you got a lack of skills, we said that exposes you to an inability to pivot. You can't pivot to something else to be able to earn another stream of income, right? Then we look at, another thing that we say is a detriment to, our communities. We talk about gentrification, right? But do we really understand what gentrification is, right? Let me give you the definition of gentrification, what it says in the dictionary. You can ridicule me if you want. You reading the white man's word, and I'm just saying, I used to be that way. You read the white man, what you say, you know what I'm saying? But seriously, let's be real, let's be logical.
Right.
The definition of gentrification is buying and renovating, buying and the renovation of deteriorated urban demographic and the displacement of low-income families and businesses. Can I give it to them again?
Rewind that again.
Okay, we need to rewind, but the definition of gentrification is buying and renovating of deteriorated urban demographic and displacement of low-income families and businesses. So if it's buying the dilapidated buildings, if it's buying the vacant lots and turning it into something, if it's buying the broken down storefront, if it's investing money in the aesthetics and the beautification to raise the property value of a home or a business or a piece of property, then why are we complaining about gentrification when we have the ability to do our own? Because some of y'all, matter of fact, a lot of us, we could swing a hammer. We could take a level. We know how to measure 12 inches on center or 16 inches on center to line up the studs when you're framing the house.
Right.
Many of us, now that we got YouTube and technology, many of us can go on YouTube and look at how do you replace a window pane. Many of us, we talk about the essays and everything. Oh man, Jose, he came through for the lawn, but you paid this man $50, $60 to do your front lawn. You know what I'm saying? And I'm guilty of it because that ain't my thing. But yet I know I did it as a kid, and I love doing it, going to Miss Johnson's house or Mr. Baker's house and edging up his lawn and everything like that. And I was a business. I earned money doing that.
First business I had.
First business. And I even made flyers. I was going, I'll cut your lawn. I'll water your grass while even though I'm running up your water bill, but I'm gonna water your grass so you don't have to do it. And that was the thing that I understood what my grandfather said when he told me, the more you can do with your hands, you'll never go hungry.
Why that back?
The more you can do with your hands, you'll never go hungry. A lot of us, we grew up tinkering with Lincoln Logs and Tonka toys and everything. So if you could swing a wrench, you can change the transmission. Somebody gonna pay you for that.
Right.
One of my closest friends, Chris Coulter, man, we changed a couple of sets of brakes. And I didn't have to go pay nobody at no shop. You know what I'm saying? I put money in his pocket, which went to his family, his kids, who I love dearly. And at the same time, we knocked out a case of beer while we was doing it, but my brakes got done.
Right.
And it strengthened our bond and our camaraderie. So what's to say that gentrification can't be done with our own hands? Because if we constantly talk about, I gotta get out of here. The hood is something else. I can't keep doing this. Oh man, Ray Pookie them, this and that. But if you leave It's like an old African proverb that says, when two brothers fight to the death, the stranger acquires their land and the father's wealth.
Mm.
So if we constantly leaving the hood, which, yeah, I don't want to be there. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be in. I'm tired of the rape. I'm tired of the drugs. And I'm tired of it. But if that's the situations that we got to deal with, what does the definition say? Buying and renovation. Buying and renovation. So if we could buy a sack of weed, you can buy some fertilizer for the lawn.
Drink, a little drink,
We could
Saturday,
buy some,
little Saturday turn up.
drink. We could buy if we could buy a lap dance. I'm just saying.
So you touched on some very good points here, and I just think the studying is a very important thing that stood out to me. Had a great conversation today, and something came up that I kind of struggle with being in our father's class, parenting class. They talked about these kids want us to nurture them. I'm not a nurturing person. And I said, hold on, wait a minute. Do you know what nurturing means?
Right.
Oh, that's like babying them. That's what the mom does. It's like, I was the same way. And so I actually looked it up, the definition of the word nurturing. I was miseducated. I just assumed from what people have been telling me that this is what something means, instead of doing the research myself and knowing what it actually means. When you actually get the definition of nurturing, it's not what us men think it really means. We might not like the word, we might use a different word, but it doesn't mean, to call to your child. It means to empower, encourage, and develop your child. And that's something that I didn't even know. That, I don't want to nurture my child. That's kind of saying like you don't want to raise your kid. You don't want to empower your child. And you say that you don't want to nurture them. Woo. So I just think it's very important, just with everything that I've been learning and reading for throughout this month and throughout the prior months, the books that we dropped into the Smoking Sip page and spread, that we have to continue learning. We have to continue studying.
Have to.
Because if you're not growing, you're dead, right? If you don't water your plant's gonna die. And I think that's what's happening with us as people. I won't say the Black community, but especially them, that's what's happening with us.
We hold it down, man.
Yeah.
I gotta use bathrooms and grab a light.
I got you. I got right here.
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the thing that I've been noticing, is just that I've been miseducated for a long time, going along with what people have been telling me, opposed to doing the research and trusting and verifying the information that I was getting. So we're gonna be on this thing for a little while tonight. Thank you everyone for staying, or if you're taking a break, come back to it, or if you're just spreading the word and letting somebody know about Smoking Sip International, what we do, what we're trying to bring to the world, bring to the community, bring to the family, about just continue to always educate yourself, continue always learning and improving on yourself. I just can't stress that enough, because we don't have no excuses no more. The books and the information that was there, that I got already, that information that speaks for itself, But here today at Puro, I have we see the Roads of Sharon here. Very, very nice, great smoke here. It actually went out, so. We have a couple of announcements and a couple other things that we're going to share for tonight's session of Tobacco Talk here at Puro, and then we'll go ahead and wrap it up. But it's been a good week. I hope everyone's week has been good, it's been well. But a lot of things have definitely been on my mind reading these books and thinking about, who I allowed to tell me these things? Who I allow to put these things in my brain and allow them to stay there for so long? About life, about being a man, about parenting, and about education. And I just think that's what's holding a lot of people back, is that the education that we got is just a lot of talking points. You know, there's been a lot of times where I've met with and spoken with so many people like, oh, I read that book. Oh yeah, I read that book. Good book. I read that book. Oh yeah, good book too. Like, you read this book. I read that book too. But then again, how come you're not applying the information from the book that you read? We all say we read these books, Think and Grow Rich, Who Moved My Cheese, 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. But then how come you're not applying the information that you're reading? You spend all this time reading, going back through books, studying, but for what? This is something to talk about?
Talking heads.
Or just to have some good conversation, you get amongst the fellas, get amongst the people to make it feel like you're intelligent. Oh, I read this book, I read this book. We all read books. I think the important thing is like, what are we taking from the books that we're reading?
Instead of intellectually masturbating.
I love the prayers. I can say that every single time. The intellectual masturbation. That we just get together and talk about this, president, politics, gas, this, oh my God, life's going on. But then again, what are you doing? What are you doing about these things? Are you gonna allow things to happen? Are you gonna continue to watch things happen? Or are you gonna make things happen? And so I want to be the person that makes things happen. Because I've been allowing things to happen to me. I've been watching things happen. And if I want to be the change, I have to be the one to change it.
That part right there. If you want things to change, you got to be the change. You know, and man, I had to excuse myself. I wanted to, you know, go use the restroom, but I had to relight my cigar. This has turned out to be a very good one. And as usual, when we get on it and do Tobacco Talk Tuesday or whatever, I'm usually the one. I done fired up. I done started smoking. I done got into it, you know, and everything. And I'm always, I just be so excited, you know, especially, you know, with a new one. This one I got is an EP, is by EP Carrillo. It's the New Wave, and it's a Connecticut. This is in the Toro size. It's a medium body. Really great. The Ecuadorian Connecticut from the Dominican Republic, right? Manufactured with the Dominican brothers, and it got a ranking of 91. You know, so that's pretty good. You know, matter of fact, the Rose of Sharon, that's one of few rare ones that actually got a ranking of 100, perfect score in its ranking. But the EP Carrillo, man, this is hitting very nice. I was in the mood, excuse me, for something mild to medium, you know, and it's hitting right at that medium body. Good sweet, creamy, you know, not too sweet. But when I mean sweet, like sweet as in smooth, right? Sweet as in the notes and the bouquet that you're getting from, you know, but it's real creamy, a little nutty, like kind of like a little cashew, but and then the finish of it is coming in like some fresh baked bread, like some fresh bread, you know, it's a little, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's real smooth. It's real EP Carrillo. The New Wave. This is a nice one, man. This is a nice one. So yeah, I had to get my weed light on, you know, or you know, smoke and sip. You know how we do, you know. So, but we sipping on water. We sipping on water because you know, there's a reason. We ain't gonna go into that, but yeah, right. We sipping on water.
That we sipping on water. So, but the things that are happening in the I guess we'll talk about the Black community. What do you think are some solutions that might help us out right now? You know, with the economy, the way it is, gas, inflation. A lot of people are homeless. I think in Phoenix downtown, they did a count of 900 homeless people that are staying downtown right now. And I can only imagine that affects the Black community too as well. So just speaking of that, what are things that you think we could do to help with the things that are happening in the Black community, especially with the young boys and youth?
that starting right there, you're starting with the young boys and the youth, but you also got to include the men that are responsible for the young boys and the youth, right? And I'm not, coming down, and I ain't trying to seem like, sympathizer of, some, anti-man movement or brothers, y'all need to do, what I'm saying? Not coming at us like that. Not coming at us like that.
Right.
What I'm saying is we do hold a lot of the bag. We got more grab on the bag to get things done. What it's going to take is not just education, but it's going to take vocational learning. It's going to take some vocational skills, because we have to look at the fact that in order to resurrect and rebuild communities that we live in, or to rebuild and repair ourselves, right? We need to start understanding what tools are necessary in order for us to do that. The number one thing, is we gotta get on our mental health. We gotta get some help. We gotta talk to people. We got to understand what's happening in our head. We gotta understand what's happening with our feelings, right? Then we also have to include, and y'all, we're not saying anything. We know this is pretty much a broken record to a lot of y'all. Financial literacy, understanding how money works, right? But then also to get into the subject of debt, how to leverage your debt, how to leverage your credit, how to repair your credit, how to invest wisely. One of the things that I'm going to go back to the book, Andrew Gadsden, and also, matter of fact, all three of the brothers, Dr. Dennis Kimbrough, Reginald Lewis, their whole thing was they invest in what they understood. And when you don't understand something, you don't squander your money. Same thing with making purchases, as we are consumers, which is another thing. We've got to understand that we need to curtail our consumerism. We consume way too much and don't produce enough. That's another thing. What can we produce?
Right.
What can we produce? We've got companies, brothers that are starting to make underwear. We got a husband and wife team that believe they have their product at Walmart, making bras and panties, right? Okay, those are necessities, undergarments, right? We know we got companies that's making beard creams and lotions and aesthetic stuff. We got that. Okay, we got the barbers that's gonna keep us looking good. We got that, right? Construction workers. We got construction workers, but we need companies. We need contractors. We need licensed contractors. We need union reps, right? What are other solutions? Yeah, we want to build our own schools. We want to do this, but here, how about we get more involved in the curriculum that's being taught right now?
Right.
Let's get more involved in the school systems that our kids are going to right now. It's great. Yeah, we got our own, but even when we got our own, who do we have that's going to handle the education? Who do we have that's going to handle the curriculum? Who do we have that's going to manage? Who do we have that's going to work? Right. So if we're not, and don't take this the wrong way, but I'm calling out the HBCUs. Don't take it the wrong way. I'm calling out the HBCUs. If you go in to study medicine and become a doctor, but then the first thing you do is go look for a job at Johns Hopkins, but you already know you went through 4 years at an HBCU, and we need our own. The hospitals and the medical industry, they don't take care of us. They don't do this. So if you know that, and if you have a means to a solution and to bring some resolution, to these issues, with your first job is at Johns Hopkins. Nothing wrong with that. Your first job is at Kaiser Permanente. Nothing wrong with that. But if that's your first choice and your first option, I gotta call you out.
Where should they go then? You just had their own practice, or
if you don't do anything, what's wrong with getting with the rest of the doctors that graduated in your class and getting a practice together? And if it's the finances that you need, then guess what? When it's some cats that graduated in the graduating class from Howard and Tuskegee and Morehouse and you know, still FAMU, you know, that were economic majors. They were economists. So, you know, everybody love to go to church and talk about, I gotta be in the full body, in the body of Christ. I gotta be, okay, well, when we gonna be in the body of our people? We're gonna be in the body of our people. When we're gonna delegate, when we're gonna become, you know, in the comic books, you know, I love my comic books and everything. I love Mark Hydra. What was their logo? It was octopus. One head, but it had many tentacles. And they reached in many areas and many corners of this earth. Right? It's fiction story, it's comic book, but man, ain't that a lesson for us to learn?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If I graduate, okay. We got cats that, you know, dental hygiene. One of the things, and this was a serious article that I came across. Some brothers associated with dental hygiene and mental health issues. They had a correlation. They went hand in hand. So if that is true with the science that they presented, and we know that we need mental health professionals, and we also need dental hygiene professionals, you know, in the dental industry. Call out the HBCUs. If we really all about that, yeah, we got to build our own, we got to do for self. We got to do that. You know, everybody ridiculed Elijah Muhammad for wanting to build the Nation of Islam.
Right.
Everybody ridiculed, you know what I'm saying, Clarence 13X. Everybody ridiculed, you know what I'm saying, Noble Jew Ali. But they were on this whole, they were on this whole plan. They ridiculed, you know, Marcus Garvey. And each one of these names that I just mentioned had organizations that were infiltrated by the same people you say we got to compete against. That's another issue. Competition. We are competing in the wrong sense. I'm gonna break it down the way Reginald Lewis broke it down in his book. We don't compete with each other enough. You look at so many other businesses, and since we're doing, you know, since we're gonna say, you know, use the color terms, right? Black businesses don't compete with each other, with other black businesses in a way that they need to. You look at white businesses, they compete with each other all the time.
Right.
Right? I'm trying to outdo you because I want to be on the top. And then when I do make it to the top, I'm going to absorb for business acquisition, and then I'm gonna bring you on board, and then guess what? Now we both eating from a bigger pie that we made together after I took you down. But I just needed to prove that I was the dominant dog.
And one thing I noticed too as well, I saw it in, I think it was Lisa Ray that talked about this, like, especially the black community, we're always trying to network up instead of left and right. You know, as soon as you see an actor or actress, they want to be like, I gotta give it Tyler Perry. I gotta go to LA. But I'm pretty sure there's people right in your community, right in your city, that are doing the same thing and share the same similar interests of you as you. But why are we not reaching out to them? Why are we trying to just automatically go to, I need to give it to Oprah. I need to give it to Tyler Perry. I need to give it to John Singletary. Rest in peace. That's it, right?
Yeah.
Rest in soul. But we're always trying to connect and go up instead of left and right. I think that's just very interesting how we're always trying to do that.
Yeah. Which, you know, and look, if that's your thing, that's your thing. But ain't nothing wrong with networking left and right.
Right.
Ain't nothing wrong with that, because and here's the benefit of networking left and right. Just like if one of these gentlemen or ladies here at the Cigar Lounge right now, we're at Puro in downtown Chandler. If they decided to come sit right on your right side, somebody decided to come sit on my left side, right? If we network left and right, and I know it just seems like a simple, you know, that's the best example you can use, but right now, yeah, that's what we're gonna use. If we shared with them the information that we have, and they shared with us the information that they have, and then we decided to, hey, well, let's collaborate, or better yet, let me be a catalyst and introduce you to somebody else, or let me put you in a puzzle piece, right? Or in a broader picture as a puzzle piece that can make some other things happen. Let me put you in a position where you can connect with some other folks, right? Not trying to push you to go, you know, get to Tyler Perry, or to get to Oprah, or get to Michael Jordan, or get to, you know, Magic Johnson, but We ain't no different from them. Ain't that the song that Alicia Keys sang? What, your family ain't no different than the Jackson 5.
Right.
And I gotta bring up a man, Chris Mosley, rising star comedian, amazing on stage, and this brother is man, he making major moves. And one of the things that he did in his live not too long ago was he brought up that same point. The only difference between yourself and the person above you, or someone who has more affluence, right, than you do, is the work. That's the only difference, was the work.
The work. Gotta do the work.
You gotta do the work. So when we're looking at creating solutions, we got to look at what are our needs, not our wants. And we got to understand that we create success and design success on our terms, not on what someone else's terms are. Not success ain't having the Maserati or the Bugatti. That doesn't necessarily mean success, right? Just because your body is looking good, doesn't mean you've actually achieved success when you got cirrhosis of the liver, or you got, cancer brewing in your, in your body, right? And so it's got to be 360 degrees. It's got to be complete. It's got to be all the way around, right? Networking left and right. Ain't nothing wrong with it. Ain't nothing wrong with it. If that makes sense.
If that makes sense, I'll try to see any comments here. So we got some comments, but I don't see any. All right, so we'll just keep on moving along. Here, I'll even cover the books, cover some things we need to work on. I just think one thing that I'm working on to myself is just that I think there is a breakdown of barrier communication amongst Black people. I think that we all come from different areas, tribal backgrounds, and we're struggling to communicate amongst others. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to think, what does it mean when you see another Black person say, "Hey, I got your back"?
What does that mean?
What does that mean?
What does that mean? What does that mean? And then, do you really have their back?
Right.
Do you really have their back, or is it because we're so conditioned in our responses and we're so conditioned in our rhetoric that, everything is, our responses to everything is just autonomous. It's all automatic. We say, hey, what's happening? I'm all good, this and that, but are we really? Are we really trying to communicate? Are we really trying to, figure out what's going on? Are we really trying to have someone's back? Hey, I got your back. You know what I'm saying? Situations, come up, and then I ain't heard from you in a little bit. Let me give you a call. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I know you're probably busy or whatever. You don't want, but let me give you a call. And hey, bro, you send your text message. We ain't talking in a while. Let me send you a text message. You know what I'm saying? Hey, man, I got an extra piece of meat. You know what I'm saying? I know my family, we ain't gonna eat all this. I ain't got no storage. So let me see, you know what I'm saying? Let me bring a piece of meat to you. You know what I'm saying? Let me do that. If that's cool. If you can't use it or whatever, then at least you got something that I gave you. Now you can sell it to your neighbor. If necessary, if it comes down to that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But that still deals with communication. That still deals with communication. That still goes into, if you really got my back, how do you have my back?
What does that look like?
What does that look like?
What does that mean? So I know we're getting close to wrapping it up here. I think, thank you for everyone for tuning in. We just want to go over the next events that we are going to be having. The last Thursday of the month, we'll be having a meet and greet here at Puro. So please be on the lookout for the flyer, and please be on the lookout for Tobacco Talk Tuesdays. We're going to be doing these every second Tuesday of every month. Every month.
And if there is a change, just be willing to accept the change, because if there is a change, that meant that was a more logical, reasonable, sound, more intelligible thing to do. Oh, and before we go, I got to throw this at the camera. Throw this at the camera. Let's look at that. That's, man, quotes. Alpha gentlemen, right? Alpha gentlemen fathers leave their sons. This is from father to son. See that name right there? I'm sitting next to that man right there. This guy right here.
Yes, sir.
Thurston M. Smith.
Yes,
right?
sir. I dropped
And
that.
this is a book with quite a few quotes in there from many great gentlemen. And I call them many great gentlemen because I know several of them in here
Yes.
that were contributors to this book, including brother that's the NAACP head chair out here, Roy
Yes.
Taylor.
Roy
Yeah,
Taylor.
and he's also a cigar smoker, man. So Roy, if you get a chance, man, hey, we gotta proceed it. We gotta proceed it, right? We gotta sit down and have a conversation, man, because I appreciate you being a part of this and making a contribution to the book. Thurston is in here. You know, he wrote some stuff and he put his heart into some of the things that he wanted to share with his son, right? And he had 3 boys.
Yeah, 3 boys.
I got 2, right? Out of my 5 kids, 3 girls, 2 boys. So I made a contribution,
Right.
You know? And some of our other great friends that we are affiliated with and we associate and fellowship with heavily, they made some amazing contributions. And shout out to everybody that made a contribution in there. Shout out to all of them, right? You know, all the way, you know, to brothers that we haven't spoken to in a while. You know, Van Dontre, Thomas. You know, he made a contribution in here. Shout out to you, man. You know, and really appreciate what you did in allowing this man to put this project together, which I definitely thank you. And this was here's everything that we talked about, right? Everything that we talked about tonight. This is the result. Right. This is the result. Thurston saw a need. He saw a situation. He saw a problem. He saw something going on within not just a community, but he saw something going on in the fraternity of fatherhood, right? He understands the importance that a son needs his father. A daughter needs her father as well, right? The wife, the family needs that man, right? But he saw that a lot of times, many things that we go through, trials and tribulations, how we overcome them, how we adapt and overcome, how we get through a rough time is we oftentimes reflect on something we've heard, whether it was in a song, whether it was in a poem, right? One of my favorite poets, Paul Laurence Dunbar, right? Or it was something that someone said in a speech, right? Or it was, you know, just a quick little simple quote or quip, you know, from someone that on a job. But it's usually something that, man, I remember what so-and-so said. Yeah, I'm gonna get through this. I'm gonna get through this. You know what I'm saying? We got some brothers that we know that, you know, they less is more, you know, and they abide by that. They stick with that. You know what I'm saying? And they don't try to over you know, become overwhelmed or bog themselves down or give themselves any extra burdens or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? It's brothers in here that gave quotes about keeping your word, you know, and about understanding how to maintain yourself in a way to always be presentable, right? Thurston saw a need to compile these things together as a resource for you to go back to. And, you know, hey, I'm having a little issue with this. I'm having, you know what I'm saying? I'm having a tough time with this. Man, I remember in Thurston's book, I remember one of these brothers that said this. And one of, you know, man, it's a quote in here, Dr. Miles Monroe, you know, and that brother, man, he talk about somebody that studies. You know, and then
Just the Camry saying, "What's up?" She said, "Is this one?"
Who's that?
It's Camry.
Oh, what up, Camry? Man.
Your cousin also jumped in here, Eric, and say, "What's up?" Too.
Okay. But man, and even man, a brother that is a mentor to many. Dr. Moreland.
Actually, I'm a mentor and my coach. He actually inspired me to do that too as well. He contributed a quote to the book. But what really inspired me to do this is that, you know, what they say, black folks don't ever come together on nothing. Well,
here's the result.
Here's the results. Here's a book that I put everyone here is African American.
Right.
All these men here are African American.
Right.
That contribute to the book.
Business owners.
Businessmen, business owners, mentors, coaches, everything here that contribute to the book. So,
serial entrepreneurs.
So we no longer can say that black men cannot come together for one objective, because here's the proof. Here's the proof. We also have some more books on the way coming down the pipeline. Please stay tapped into Smoke and Sip, tapped into Jamel D. Hill, Double Wasted Talent, Thurston M. Smith, Alpha German, Lifestyle Development, for more of these tobacco talks, for more products, for more Smoke and Sips, for more networking events.
Hey, and you get the chance. If you get the chance, well, you should have the chance. Hey, go check out PacidaStyle.com. Pasida, it stands for Put Some Smoke in the Air, right? PSSITA. PacidaStyle, one word.com. Check out the merch. Check out the merch. Get your bag 22. Get your bag 22 merch. Get your Smoke and Sip international merch, right? We got t-shirts, we got sweatshirts, we got hoodies, we got stuff for the home, we got pillows, we got coffee mug. I mean, pretty much anything in there, right? Go check it out. Go check it out. You won't be disappointed. But when you get the chance, go check that out. And then also, we're gonna actually have this book on the website in an ebook form, in a digital form. So if you can't get a hold to a physical copy, you can also go on the website. It'll be up there within this week. Within this week, we're gonna have this book. But not just this book. We got some other stuff that's, like you said, man, we got some stuff coming down the pipeline. We got some stuff that's coming at you fast and hard, at the speed of life. We got a lot of projects that are going to include a lot of great people, a lot of awesome people that are serious about success. And we're not talking about, I'm just trying to get a lot of money, but success in development, success in helping people, success in enriching and impacting lives, right? Success in bringing value and increasing value to people's lives and their situations. Many different great brothers and sisters, of all walks of life, of many different backgrounds that are a part of some of the projects that we have coming up, and want you to be anticipate those, and we definitely bring it. Because that's what Smoke and Sip is all about. Right? It's more than just getting together and smoking on some cigars. It's more than just getting together and having a good sip of whiskey or bourbon or something like that, right? It's more than just, hanging out, right? And talking certain things. We're talking business. We're talking solutions and resolution. We're talking how to improve. We're talking what moves need to be made. You know what I'm saying? And that's what Smoke and Sip has always been rooted in. That's what our foundation is. And that's what we're going to continue to build on, right? It's more than just smoking some cigars, like I said. It's more than just getting together and hanging out. It's more than that. It's about this. It's about this. It's about developing yourself, being an alpha gentleman, right? It's about being a nurturing father. It's about being a nurturing mother. It's about being a business owner. It's about investing. It's about improving, impacting lives. It's about being a servant leader. It's about leadership. It's about management. It's about getting yourself to a position of power and success. It's about getting yourself into a position to where that no matter what you do, can't nobody stop you but you. Can't nobody stop you but you. And as we talk about quotes and everything, yeah, we do it good. As we talk about quotes, I'm gonna shut my mouth with this one. If ain't nobody laughing at your ideas and your dreams and your goals, if ain't nobody laughing at you, you ain't coming with it. You ain't got shit bigger. Seriously. If your goals and your desires and your aspirations, right, if they don't keep you awake at night, if they don't scare the fuck out of you, if they don't scare the fuck out of you, you ain't dreaming big enough.
Dream big and then catch up to your dream.
Come on, man. Oh, that's in the book.
It's in the book.
It's in the book.
Dream big and then catch up to your dream.
Listen,
and that's what we're doing right now.
Hashtag DBWT, don't be wasting time. For real. For real.
So we're gonna wrap this up here. Thurston M. Smith, America's #1 Alpha Gentleman coach. Man,
Jamel D. Hill, developer of hashtag DBWT, Don't Be Wasting Talent, Vice President of Smoke and Sip International, coming at you live and direct in full effect. We love you. We want you to keep your head on the swivel, right? Stay up, stay blessed, stay strong.
And we'll catch with y'all next following Tuesday.
Yeah.
Look forward.
Yeah.
Okay.